Part 15. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 141. A stupid tiger is a stupid tiger. He can be fooled into becoming a monk just by asking for information. Xiaobai's stupidity opened Zhang Chen's eyes. He wanted to ask Xiaobai at this moment. You are a female tiger. Why do you want to become a monk? Even if you really want to become a monk, do you have to find a nunnery or something? It's simply exaggerated. Zhang Chen didn't want to care about this matter. Anyway, it's not his pet, and it has nothing to do with him whether he becomes a monk or not. But he had to care. The reason is very simple. Now that Lin Feng has been arrested and imprisoned in the 6 prisons, he must make trouble and also enter the 6 prisons. Because of his identity as a holy monk, he was exempted from chanting sutras and reciting Buddha's name, so it was impossible for him to imitate Lin Feng and not recite Buddha's name, so he had to find another way. And Xiaobai wanted to become a monk, so he went to persuade him, and by the way, destroyed a temple and killed a preaching monk. This is very reasonable. After making up his mind, Zhang Chen took the 2 brothers Lu Wen and Lu Wu to persuade Xiaobai. On the other side, in a certain temple, Xiaobai curled up, and although he did not knock the wooden fish, he still spoke human words and chanted scriptures and Buddha with other monks. Glancing at it, the preaching monk in the front smiled with satisfaction. He was obviously smiling, but his eyes were a little sinister, and his smile was extremely evil. The name of this preaching monk was Huide. In terms of seniority, the Buddhist names are based on seniority. Since the preaching elders and the elders of the Jiying Hall are of the same generation, they are both named Hui. Huide's common name is Lu Qi, and he was originally the elder of the Juyan sect. Lu Qi was evil and did not get along with Li Faju. After being targeted repeatedly, he directly betrayed the sect and came to this Buddha temple for refuge. He also knew that the crime of betraying the sect was serious. Therefore, when he was taking refuge, he joined the Buddha temple in the way of putting down the butcher knife. Rules of the Buddha temple. As long as he is willing to escape into Buddhism, whether it is killing evil people or entering the devil, he will not refuse anyone. Therefore, the Buddha temple did not conduct a detailed investigation of Lu Qi's identity and background. Seeing that he had good cultivation and was very interested in Buddhism, they shaved his head and gave him a robe, and appointed him as a backup monk. Originally, this backup would have to be a backup for at least several years. But in recent days, Mu Kuei drove several monks crazy one after another, and Lin Feng also seriously injured several people on the way to escape. Therefore, Lu Qi was promoted from a backup monk to a formal monk of this temple. The merits of a monk are closely related to the people he converts. Lu Qi saw at a glance that Xiaobai had ancient blood. If he could convert him, it would add an ancient beast to protect the Buddha temple, which would definitely be a great merit. At that time, even if the Juyan sect came to trouble him, the Buddha temple would definitely protect him. After a satisfied smile, Lu Qi closed his eyes again and chanted the scriptures. The scriptures moved the golden body of the Buddha behind him, making it shine brightly. The monks bathed in the Buddha's light, felt their souls redeemed, and chanted more attentively. After several hours, the monks left, and Lu Qi asked Xiaobai to stay. Master. Xiaobai squatted forward and bowed with both hands. You have only listened to the scriptures for a few days, and you can remember the scriptures. You are really intelligent and wise, Lu Qi praised. Really? Xiaobai was happy, but then he lowered his ears and said, but they all say I am stupid. Don't belittle yourself. Lu Qi smiled gently and said seriously, everyone is equal in front of my Buddha. Although you are a monster, your understanding of Buddhism is definitely far beyond that of ordinary people. Xiaobai nodded, and his tiger eyes regained confidence. Is there anything you don't understand in the scriptures recently? I will carefully explain it to you, Lu Qi said again. Hearing this, Xiaobai was silent for a long time. After some hesitation, it asked tentatively, "What does Buddha think of the way of heaven?" Buddhism does not talk about the way of heaven or destiny, but only about cause and effect. Lu Qi straightened his expression and explained carefully. Buddha said, "Plant such cause, get such result, everything is created by the mind, destiny is created by oneself, appearance is created by the mind, and all things in the world are transformed." What does it mean? Xiaobai didn't understand. It means that you plant causes and get results, causes in the previous life, results in this life, Lu Qi explained again. After understanding this statement, Xiaobai sighed, "Then I must have done something wrong in my previous life." In its opinion, it did do something wrong. Otherwise, why would it be worried about its life? And the person who wanted to eat it was the son of destiny. Then how can this cause and effect be resolved? Xiaobai asked again. Does the donor know the story of the Buddha cutting meat to feed the eagle? Lu Qi asked. Xiaobai nodded. In recent days, it has read a lot of Buddhist scriptures and knows a little bit. When Buddha saw the eagle catching the pigeon, he couldn't bear it and tried to stop it. But Buddha couldn't bear the pigeon to lose its life, and naturally couldn't bear the eagle to starve, so he cut meat to feed the eagle. Lu Qi closed his eyes slightly, looking like a high monk. After seeing Xiaobai nodding continuously, he said, "This illusion not only implies that all beings are equal before Buddha, but also implies that Buddha used this method to break his own cause and effect." "I don't understand." Xiaobai shook his tiger head. Lu Qi was not in a hurry, and still patiently explained, "Cause and effect cannot be avoided, but can be ignored. If Buddha stopped the eagle from eating the pigeon, he owed the eagle a cause. But cutting meat to feed the eagle, it broke this cause and effect. This is not ignoring cause and effect, which means to clearly understand the cause and effect. So, Buddha doesn't care about the way of heaven, but only about cause and effect. Even the high and mighty Buddha can't avoid cause and effect." Xiaobai's eyes changed. No, Lu Qi shook his head, "I don't know whether Buddha was involved in cause and effect. The illusion of cutting meat to feed eagles was also before Buddha became a Buddha. But if you sow such a cause and get such a result, we Buddhists, you should not be ignorant of cause and effect and take the initiative to end it." "Take the initiative to end it?" Xiaobai is unbelievable. "Why did you take the initiative to end it? Do you want it to take the initiative to go to Linfeng and then be eaten? Then, does it deserve it, because the evil causes were planted in the previous life, so it got the bad results in this life? To put it bluntly, do you want it to die on its own initiative without knowing what it has done? Is this Buddha? Is this Buddhism?" The reason why it wanted to become a monk was because it was praised for being smart, and when inquiring about the news, it heard Lu Qi say, "You make your own destiny." Now I understand that this is not against heaven at all, but in compliance with destiny, and I want to change my destiny through this way of good causes and good results. If becoming a monk means doing this and suffering the consequences, then why should it go against heaven? I dare to ask the eminent monk, how to defy heaven." Xiaobai suppressed the anger in his heart and asked again. "Unbelievable." Lu Qi was also stunned. "Why do you want to defy heaven?" "Because God won't let me. If I don't rebel, I will die." Xiaobai was already filled with murderous intent. "Donor, calm down. Calm down." The murderous intention made Lu Qi panic, and he said quickly, "You want to go against the will of heaven? You should have told me earlier. Going against the will of heaven means, that's..." Even for a long time, he never said the second half of his words. How does he know how to defy heaven? Even what I said just now was just a temporary basis, and I could understand it on my own by studying some Buddhist scriptures. Damn it, he really doesn't know how. You dare to lie to me. Xiaobai was furious. It suddenly transformed, its huge tiger body directly bursting through the temple, and black thunder appeared frequently in its mouth, with the ferocious appearance of choosing people to devour. Evil. Do you know where this place is? Seeing this, Lu Qi was trembling with fright, but he still said, "This is the Buddha temple. I am one of the preaching elders of the Buddha temple. If I die, the Buddhist lamp belonging to me will be extinguished. At that time, he was saved by the law enforcement monks of the Buddha temple." Hearing this, Xiaobai sobered up a lot, but his anger still lingered. At this moment, Zhang Chen arrived with his crowd. Looking at Xiaobai's huge body and the foreign monks running around in the broken temple, he rubbed his eyes. "Silly tiger, aren't you going to become a monk? Why did you demolish other temples?" Zhang Chen shouted in disbelief. Hearing this, Xiaobai immediately returned to his original state and ran towards Zhang Chen. While running, it cried, "Big brother, they lied to me. I won't become a monk anymore. No more monks? How does this work? Xiaobai didn't become a monk, so why did he take the opportunity to cause trouble? How about you think about it again?" Zhang Chen asked back. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 142. After arriving next to Zhang Chen, Xiaobai shook his tiger head like a rattle. "Don't think about it. That bald donkey cheated me. He won't go against the will of heaven," it said firmly. "You actually realized that you were cheated?" Zhang Chen was stunned. Xiaobai felt that he was underestimated and subconsciously wanted to refute, but for a moment he didn't have the confidence to refute. However, after experiencing this, he finally understood. Only the senior brother Zhang Chen would go against the will of heaven. Although it is Qingning's contracted beast, it and Qingning will follow Zhang Chen for the rest of their lives. It also secretly made up its mind. In the future, it must think more about things and can't be cheated again. It doesn't matter if it is cheated, but the senior brother deliberately came to rescue it, which makes it feel guilty. "Oh, big brother." Thinking about it, Xiaobai was moved by himself and said, "Don't worry, big brother, I won't become a monk, Xiaobai, I think you should think about it again." Zhang Chen raised his hand to interrupt, and straightened his expression. "It is said that Buddha saves all living beings. If you become a monk, you may be able to jump out of the 3 realms and not be in the 5 elements. Then, you will be the only one in the world." Xiaobai had a question mark on his face. What does it mean? Does it mean that big brother is still in favor of it becoming a monk? But that preaching monk is obviously a liar. "Xiaobai, big brother, I won't lie to you. Be good, go find that preaching monk now and tell him that you want to become a monk." Zhang Chen persuaded him earnestly again. "But that preaching monk won't go against the will of heaven," Xiaobai was puzzled. "Maybe he won't, but the Buddha will." Zhang Chen still had a serious face. "Big brother, I believe you, as long as you persevere, you can." "Can I become a Buddha?" Xiaobai's eyes lit up again. "No, you can become the Mount of Buddha." Xiaobai immediately looked disgusted. Although the Mount of Buddha is also very powerful, it is not quite what he imagined. Seeing that Zhang Chen wanted to persuade him again, with a wicked smile, Xiaobai quickly distanced himself and said, "Big brother, you smile very sinisterly. And according to my experience, every time you smile like this, you are planning something bad." "I am not, I didn't, don't talk nonsense." Zhang Chen restrained his smile and denied 3 times in a row. After taking a deep look at Xiaobai, he had a feeling. This stupid tiger seemed not easy to deceive. Could it be that he learned a lesson and became smarter? Seeing that Xiaobai was unwilling to become a monk, he had no choice but to wink at Lu Wen and Lu Wu. The meaning of that look was very simple, clearly saying, "Xiaobai doesn't want to become a monk, then you two should become monks instead." This made the 2 Lu brothers smile bitterly. When they came, Zhang Chen said that he must persuade Xiaobai, even if he had to make a scene in the Buddha temple, he must stop Xiaobai from becoming a monk. But now, It was indeed persuasion, but it became persuading Xiaobai to become a monk. Now that Xiaobai is unwilling, it is their turn again. Knowing Zhang Chen's plan, the two brothers did not dare to resist, but when they were about to express their opinions, Zhang Chen, an unbelievable shout came from the stone statue in the temple. Hearing this, Zhang Chen's pupils shrank slightly and he looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a middle-aged monk wearing a cassock, with a new scar on his head and a sinister look in his eyes, walking towards him. Xiaobai was furious and said with a grin, "Big brother, it's him. He wants to trick me into becoming a monk." When Lu Wen and Lu Wu heard this, they immediately complained in their hearts, "Big brother also wanted to trick you into becoming a monk just now." Not wanting to bother with Xiaobai, Zhang Chen felt that the person looked familiar, so he looked at him carefully. Soon, he recognized the identity of this person. Juyan Zone traitor, Lu Qi. He and Lu Qi are both villains of Juyan Zone, and they have a good personal relationship. The main reason why Lu Qi betrayed the sect was that he did evil things with him and had a conflict with Li Faju. In the 9 reincarnations, Zhang Chen always knew that Lu Qi converted to Buddhism after betraying the sect, but he had never met him. Zhang Chen was a little helpless. He was just ready to go all out and kill the preaching monk first. Who would have thought that this person was Lu Qi? They were all villains, and they liked each other. They also did evil together when they were in Juyan Zone, so they had a deep friendship. With such a relationship, how can you kill someone randomly? You have to find an excuse. "Elder Lu, I haven't seen you for a long time," Zhang Chen said. "Yes, thinking back to the past, you and I worked together to do evil things, how happy it was. Now things have changed, you are still you, but I have converted to Buddhism," Lu Qi said with emotion. Zhang Chen nodded. Following Lu Qi to an intact stone table, he gently stroked the spirit ring and took out several jars of good wine from it. "Monks don't drink," Lu Qi waved his hand. "Elder Lu, we are family and don't talk about different things. Don't you know me? This conversion to Buddhism is just a temporary measure for you. Now that all the monks in the temple have fled, there is no one around, why do you pretend?" Zhang Chen joked. "Ha ha. You and I really have the same smell," Lu Qi laughed, and while talking, he poured himself a glass of wine and drank it all. "Comfortable." He blushed and praised after the strong liquor went into his stomach. Seeing Zhang Chen smiling but not saying anything, he angrily said, "If it weren't for Li Faju who was against me, how could I have fallen into such a situation? Don't worry, Elder Lu, Li Faju got his retribution and went crazy," Zhang Chen said with a smile. Crazy? Lu Qi was stunned. It is not uncommon for cultivators to go crazy, and he didn't think Zhang Chen would lie to him. After a brief moment of surprise, he clapped his legs and laughed, "Ha ha, how happy, how happy. I really want to see the crazy look of Li Faju." "Not only Li Faju, the Juyan sect is almost crazy," Zhang Chen said again. "Ah? Are you serious?" Lu Qi was shocked. After confirming again and again that Zhang Chen was not joking, he frowned and said, "The Juyan sect is also a first-class sect in the central region after all. How can it be said that it is all crazy? This is weird. It doesn't have anything to do with your kid, does it?" he guessed. In his opinion, Zhang Chen naturally doesn't have that strength, but the Fengling Zhang family does. Zhang Chen smiled faintly and didn't reply. Although he and Lu Qi are both villains, the latter is a typical villain. Lu Qi is not only dirty at heart and has no sense of etiquette, justice, and shame, but he also likes to judge others by himself. Zhang Chen knew that explanations were useless, so naturally there was no need for explanations. Again, if this matter is analyzed carefully, it is indeed inseparable from his toxicity. This made Lu Qi more convinced of his thoughts, and he smiled and said, "It's great. You are still the best at what you do. That leader Gu Changqing is so sanctimonious. He thinks about making meritorious deeds for the sect all day long and stares at us. He deserves to be crazy. Zhang Chen nodded in agreement. The same is true for everyone in Zhifeng. Zhang Lianyu used to look down on us because of her status as an empress. It's so satisfying to go crazy, Lu Qi continued. In this regard, after a slight hesitation, Zhang Chen still nodded. And Lin Mubai, who had innate talent but abandoned it and insisted on studying. Isn't this a fool? Lu Qi asked again. He is indeed a fool, Zhang Chen deeply agreed. The same is true for Qingning. Wasn't it because you deceived me of some treasures? It's disgusting to have to pretend to be innocent, Lu Qi said again. This time, Zhang Chen frowned. Unaware of his emotional changes, Lu Qi said he was addicted and continued to curse, and your master Xuanhuan, she showed favoritism to you, but in fact she repeatedly punished you severely. Such duplicitous behavior is also disturbing. Before he finished speaking, there was a flash of red sword light. And after the sword light disappeared, there was a red blood spiritual sword in Zhang Chen's hand, and there was a blood mark on Lu Qi's neck. The next second, blood spurted out from the bloodstains like pillars, and the world was filled with scarlet. The blood that spread out like an umbrella was burned away by the warmth of the bloody sword in his hand before it even splashed onto Zhang Chen's black clothes. Lu Qi suddenly stood up, his body swaying. His eyes widened and he covered his neck with his hands, in disbelief. He wanted to use his vitality to repair his injuries, but the sword energy penetrated deep into his bones and completely messed up his vitality, making him unable to lift any energy at all. I can only watch helplessly as my life disappears. Why did you kill me? Lu Qi asked as he fell to the ground before his life completely disappeared. Because you know too much and talk too much, Zhang Chen said without raising his head as he sipped the wine in his glass. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 143. When Lu Qi fell to the ground, the red-clothed figure that appeared and disappeared in the sky above the temple trembled obviously. Xiaobai and others ran over and were dumbfounded. Big brother, he said he had a Buddha lamp. If he died, the lamp would go out and the law enforcement monks would be attracted, Xiaobai reminded him quickly. I know. Zhang Chen's expression was calm. You know and still kill people? Big brother, why don't you ride on me and let's run? Xiaobai was already anxious. In response, Zhang Chen just shook his head and stood up and said, Xiaobai, all this is for you. I have just tested it and found that this person will not go against the will of heaven at all. If he lies to you, he must die. Big brother. Xiaobai was so moved that he burst into tears and stood up, holding Zhang Chen with his 2 tiger paws and crying. For it, Zhang Chen killed the preaching monk of the Buddha temple regardless of the danger. This really moved the tiger too much. Xiaobai, don't cry. Since you call me senior brother like Qingning, I will protect you. Zhang Chen continued to deceive. Sure enough. As soon as these words came out, Xiaobai cried even harder, senior brother treats me like this, how can I repay him? It seems that there is no change, it's still stupid tiger. Zhang Chen nodded, convinced in his heart. Senior brother, sister Bai is right. This matter will surely alarm the law enforcement monks, so we should leave quickly. The younger brother Lu Wen also persuaded. Leave. It is impossible to leave. He killed people just to cause trouble, and by the way, he put the blame on Xiaobai, how could he leave? And just when he wanted to let Xiaobai and others leave first, more than a dozen pale yellow figures came from a distance. In just a few breaths, they arrived and surrounded Zhang Chen and others. Zhang Chen counted them and found a total of 18 monks holding demon-suppressing sticks, All of them were in the Yuandan realm, especially the leading monk, who had a strong aura and should be in the Tianyuan realm. Amitabha. The leading monk stepped forward and said with wide eyes, "Who destroyed this temple?" Hearing this, Xiaobai stopped crying. Last time, it and Zhang Chen beat Lin Feng and Zhang Hu off the cliff, but in the end it was Zhang Chen who was punished. This matter has always made it feel guilty, and it doesn't want to happen again. But it didn't have time to confess its crime. "I did it," Zhang Chen confessed first. While speaking, he also cast a meaningful look at Xiaobai. That look seemed to say, "Xiaobai, everything is up to me." Xiaobai cried again. At this moment, it finally understood why Qingning loved to cry so much. With such a senior brother, who cannot be moved to tears. "No, it's not like that," Xiaobai said with a heavy nasal tone, "actually it was me. Lu Qi, your preaching monk, was also killed by me," Zhang Chen interrupted again. "Although it is so, the eldest brother did it for me." Xiaobai spoke again. "Valkyries, die," Zhang Chen rushed forward directly. Xiaobai was confused. The law enforcement monks were also stunned. In the past, when they enforced the law, they had to investigate the course of events. They had never met such a person who confessed his guilt and attacked them directly. If it weren't for Zhang Chen's murderous aura, they wouldn't even react. The leading law enforcement monk's name is Du Ming. Seeing Zhang Chen rushing straight towards him, Du Ming held a stick in one hand and raised his palm with the other hand and said, "My name is Du Ming. The donor is too violent. There is no way to save him. I can only save him and die under the stick." After speaking, he went straight to Zhang Chen. Seeing this, the other law enforcement monks immediately spread out in all directions, forming a Buddhist stick formation, surrounding Zhang Chen in a circle, and the demon-suppressing sticks in their hands were shining with golden light. Seeing this, Xiaobai and others wanted to step forward to help, but were stopped by Zhang Chen, who suddenly stopped. "You can just watch the fight," Zhang Chen said calmly. Hearing this, Du Ming frowned, but also breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he saw at a glance that the big white tiger was not simple. "I thought there would be a fierce battle today, but I didn't expect that the man in black in front of him would stop his companions from helping. Maybe this person can still be rescued." With this thought in mind, Du Ming said again, "Would you like to follow me back to this temple, chant Buddha and scriptures for 10 years to get rid of your evil spirit? Let me save you. Maybe you will enter the 6 hells of Buddha," Zhang Chen asked back. This made Du Ming frown again. The 6 hells of Buddha are all for punishing the most vicious criminals. Although Zhang Chen destroyed the temple and killed the preaching monk, he did not go to the level of the 6 hells. It should be noted. All the criminals and demons who went to the 6 hells regretted not being directly saved at the beginning. From Du Ming's expression, Zhang Chen had already got the answer. Since he could not go to the 6 hells, he naturally could not surrender. In fact, he had always known. Although he was in Juyan sect, other sects had always been concerned about his information. Once his identity was exposed, the group of bald donkeys in the Buddha temple would definitely try their best to drive him away. Therefore, the flame blood dragon sword could not be used, and the green lotus sword art could not be used. In this case, only the Buddhist skills could be used. Although using the Buddhist skills directly would expose the risk of exposing that he was practicing the Buddha temple's treasured sutra, he could not care so much now. Now that Lin Feng has entered the 6 hells, he must hurry up to enter the destruction. If the group of bald donkeys in the Buddha temple want to save him on the spot, then they can only let Xiao Hong'ai take him directly to the 6 prisons. If Xiao Hong'ai is not capable enough, he will call someone else. Thinking of this, Zhang Chen's face changed. He clasped his hands together and said calmly, "Amitabha, I came from the east, but I didn't expect that this Buddha temple has been possessed by demons. Today, I will help the Buddha to get rid of you, the evil monks of Buddhism." After the words fell, the Buddha Sutra in his body was secretly running. The sound of Buddha whispered, as if in his ears. Bathed in the Buddha's light, transformed into a golden body. In just a few breaths, his body size increased several times, turning into a golden body several feet high, with the Buddha's light on his head like a three-color sun, dazzling. Seeing this, the law enforcement monks were full of question marks. What's going on? The evil man who was full of hostility just now has become a Buddhist monk in an instant? That solid golden body and the Buddha's light like a three-color sun, even the 6 Buddhist disciples of the Buddha temple are slightly inferior. What's more important? The Buddha's light seemed to affect the Buddhist skills they practiced, and they became awed as if they had seen the Buddha. The Buddha Sutra is the treasured sutra of the Buddha temple. No one knows it except a few high-ranking officials of the Buddha temple. Du Ming noticed something strange, but he didn't understand it for a while. Just as he was scratching his head and began to think about whether he should take action, Zhang Chen's lips opened and closed, and a golden word came out of his mouth. Om. After the word came out, it gradually grew and rotated. At the same time, it seemed that thousands of monks were chanting at the same time, and the sound of Om was endless, like the whispering of the Buddhas. This is the first word of the 6-word seal. Under the seal of the Om word, the pride and self-attachment are purified, and the suffering of degeneration and mutation is eliminated. The golden word on the top of the head rotates, and the Buddha's light shines everywhere. Except for Du Ming. The other law enforcement monks seemed to be converted in an instant. Not only were their eyes dull, but they also dropped their demon-suppressing sticks, sat cross-legged on the ground, chanted scriptures, and began to repent. My name is Santang. I bury the evil and save the good. Zhang Chen spoke softly. The voice was like a rolling Buddha, resounding throughout the universe. After hearing the voice, many monks ran out of the surrounding temples. These people were shocked by Zhang Chen's Buddha light and golden body, and were instantly converted by the Om hanging high. They immediately bowed their heads and said, Master Santang's Buddhist teachings are like the sea, please save us. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 144. More and more people knelt down to seek salvation. In just a few moments, hundreds of people gathered and knelt in front of Zhang Chen. Seeing this scene, Du Ming was shocked. He waved the demon-suppressing stick in his hand and hit his companions who were sitting cross-legged on the ground. His companions were awakened instantly and glared at Zhang Chen. Demon monk, more than 10 law enforcement monks shouted at the same time. What is a demon monk? Those who use Buddhism to confuse sentient beings are demon monks. The principle of Buddhism to save people is to let people get rid of their own hostility, evil thoughts, and 6 desires, and let people restore their minds to the infant stage. At this time, as long as a little guidance is given, people can be saved and become good. But this guidance refers to positive guidance. If it is reverse guidance, it can confuse sentient beings. Let people do great evil and enter the devil's way. Zhang Chen first used the 6-character seal to purify the monks, and then used Buddhist sounds to confuse them, saying that he could bury evil and save good, and everyone knelt down to worship him. This is a veritable demon monk. Keep your mind focused, quickly form a stick formation. I'll break his golden body first, Du Ming gave orders as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The other law enforcement monks heard this and immediately acted accordingly. Zhang Chen was surrounded again. Du Ming stamped his right foot on the ground, jumped up, and swung the demon-suppressing stick in his hand towards Zhang Chen's head. After a faint glance at him, Zhang Chen opened his lips and uttered 2 more golden characters. Ma. Ni. Ni. These are the second and third characters of the 6-character Dharma seal. The word Ma purifies the jealousy in the Asura path and eliminates the pain of struggle. The word Ni purifies the ignorance and greed in the human path and eliminates the disasters of birth, aging, illness, death, and poverty. The two characters also rotated and grew, inspiring the Buddhas to chant. The three characters of the six-character Dharma seal have been produced. The three characters hung in the sky, and the Buddha's light poured down, and several Buddha shadows and strange images have already appeared. Seeing this, hundreds of monks and cultivators worshipped Zhangchen even more in their hearts, and the way they looked at Zhangchen was like worshipping Buddha. Ma and Ne, two golden characters, passed through Du Ming's body. He looked dazed and his eyes were dull. He finally managed to calm his mind and not be bewitched by the Buddhist sound, but he saw Zhangchen looking at him and said, "This person is an evil obstacle in the world. There is no one to save him, only salvation." Hearing this, Du Ming's scalp suddenly numbed. He looked down. Sure enough, he saw hundreds of cultivators, monks, and even his fellow law enforcement monks rushing towards him. One of his companions jumped up, grabbed his ankle, and pulled him down hard. Being in the air, Du Ming couldn't move, and this pull directly pulled him to the ground, smashing a deep pit. Then, what awaited him was a group fight. The law enforcement monk raised the demon-subduing stick and hit him with sticks again and again. Those monks who were bewitched by Zhangchen took the opportunity to rush forward and kick him. Even those foreign monks took out their own spiritual weapons and poked him from the gaps in the crowd. "You, wake up quickly!" Du Ming was furious, and with a loud shout, he turned into a golden body several feet high for protection. After all, he was a Tianyuan cultivator, and he had studied Buddhism for many years. The Buddhist teachings brought by the loud shout awakened many people from their bewitching. But he didn't have time to be happy. Ba. Me. Hum. Zhangchen uttered another three-character mantra. Ba purifies the stupidity in the animal path and eliminates the pain of dumbness. Me purifies the stinginess in the hungry ghost path and eliminates the pain of hunger and thirst. Hum purifies the hatred in hell and eliminates the pain of heat and cold. This is the last three words of the six-character Dharma seal. When the six-character seal is fully released, with Zhangchen's current earthly cultivation, plus the top-grade Buddhist secret book that can only be used by the upper four realms, even ordinary upper four realm cultivators will want to be converted by him. Lying on the ground, Du Ming's golden color faded, and his eyes only saw the six-character seal in the air. Gradually, he felt that he would also be converted. "Evil monk! I will never do as you wish," Du Ming suddenly roared. And at the moment when the voice fell, his body twitched, and then a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his life force suddenly disappeared. He died by severing his heart veins. In response, Zhangchen just shook his head. People in the righteous way are like this. If they are suppressed by a villain like him, they will think of committing suicide. In the 9 reincarnations, he also took a lot of blame. The only difference is that this time he took the initiative to suppress, while in the 9 reincarnations, those people were blind and had to find trouble with him. Once Du Ming died, no one could stay awake under Zhangchen's Buddhist teachings. At this moment, the area of dozens of miles was illuminated by the Buddha's light emitted by the six-character seal. Countless temples were like wearing golden clothes, and the Buddhist charm was everywhere. "Master, how can you see the Buddha?" a kneeling monk asked. "The Buddha is in the heart." Glancing at the distance, Zhangchen pretended. "Where is the heart?" "The heart is in front of you, your heart is in me, I am the Buddha." Behavior meets the villain setting, reward, Buddhist secret book, Great Power Dragon. After a short silence, hundreds of people who were completely brainwashed bowed again and said, "The Buddha is in front of us, but we don't know it, it's a sin." Zhangchen smiled with satisfaction. He suddenly understood something. Why do those bald donkeys in the Buddha temple like to convert people when they have nothing to do? It turns out that this feeling of playing with other people's minds in the palm of your hand is really good. He did not stop there, nor did he remove the golden body and the seal. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed, silently studying the newly acquired Buddhist secrets in his mind. Seeing this, everyone did the same. Suddenly, how audacious! You are the Buddha? How shameless! A demon monk who blasphemes the Buddha. Today, even if you come from the upper domain, you will be punished. Several rebukes were heard one after another. Then 6 monks, all young men, wearing half-sleeved monk robes and wearing thick Buddhist prayer beads around their necks, appeared in the Buddha's light. Zhang Chen opened his eyes and looked around. These 6 monks were all Tianyuan cultivators. Judging from the Buddha's light that was almost overflowing from their skin, they must be the 6 Buddhist disciples of the Buddha temple. The Buddhist disciples of the Buddha temple are equivalent to the true disciples of other sects. But in terms of combat power, they are much stronger than the true disciples of other first-class sects. In addition to the fact that Buddhism is inherently strong and masculine, the main reason is that Buddhist disciples will receive the initiation of Buddhism and inherit the relics. The relics are the bones of the Buddha's Dharma after the ancestors of the Buddha temple passed away, which is equivalent to inheritance. This is why the 6 Buddhist disciples are all in the Tianyuan realm, even though they are about the same age as Zhang Chen. "Evil monk, why don't you surrender?" said one of the shorter Buddhist disciples. "Punish," Zhang Chen sneered and asked, "Why should I surrender? I have 3 Dharma names, one of which is 1 is funeral, 2 is half funeral, and 3 is full funeral. And it comes from a certain place in the Buddhist domain, called Dongtu." "Is that right?" another Buddhist disciple continued. This is to inform Zhang Chen. They already know Zhang Chen's background, and it is not false. Zhang Chen nodded, with a defiant look on his face, which is also true. With the idea of getting to know Zhang Chen more and avoiding provoking a strong enemy, the leading Buddhist disciple asked, "Why do you have these 3 Dharma names?" "Waiting for your question." Zhang Chen's eyes lit up, and he smiled and said, "If you know what's good for you, I will bury you. If you don't know what's good for you at first, and then know what's good for you later, I will only bury half of your family, so it's a half burial. If you don't know what's good for you, you bury the whole family, is this a full burial?" the leading Buddhist disciple continued. "Not bad," Zhang Chen praised, looking at this person and said, "You are really good. You are quite intelligent." The leading Buddhist disciple was speechless. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 145. The leader of the Buddha is called Cin. After hearing Zhang Chen's words, Cin became more and more convinced that the Zhang in front of him was definitely a demon monk from the upper realm. This gave Cin a huge headache. "I don't know what happened to the Buddha temple recently. First, Mu Kuei from the Juyan sect came and drove several preaching monks crazy. Then Lin Feng came from the Juyan sect, and with his extremely powerful fighting skills and ancient skills, he caused a scene in the Buddha temple. Now, the demon monk has come to the upper domain again." Thinking of this, Cin glanced at the 6-character seal that was still hanging and spinning, and instantly understood that this must be the best secret book of Buddhism, otherwise the transformation power would not be so strong. He glanced at Zhang Chen again. No matter how you look at it, Zhang Chen, who has turned into a golden body several feet tall, is at the Earth Yuan realm. How can a Yuan Dan monk learn the best skills? Are all upper domain monks so awesome? I can't understand it, I really can't understand it. Zhang Chen's superb Buddhist teachings are incomprehensible, and even those who can practice the best secrets can't understand them. More importantly, the Buddhist aura on Zhang Chen's body made Cin feel very familiar. The Buddha Sutra is a top-notch secret book that even the 6 Buddhist disciples in the Buddha temple could not learn due to their limited cultivation. For this reason, the Buddha temple took the essence of the Buddha Sutra and created the Buddha Zen method, a top-grade Buddhist method, specially for 6 Buddhist disciples to practice. The two techniques come from the same school. To put it bluntly, there is a father-son relationship. Therefore, in addition to being kind to Zhang Chen's Buddhism, they also have a natural sense of fear. It is precisely because of this sense of fear that the Buddhist disciples did not take action immediately after arriving. Because if all the Buddhist disciples in the Buddha temple are defeated, then the shame of the Buddha temple will really be lost to Grandma's house. In this way, considering Zhang Chen's mysterious identity, Xin directly stated his attitude: "Monk, if you leave the Buddha temple, this matter will be forgotten. Let bygones be bygones." Zhang Chen sneered. Such a smile is extremely inconsistent with his current appearance. After all, at this moment, he has three-color Buddha light above his head, his golden body is several feet tall, and he still chants Amitabha from time to time. From Zhang Chen's smile, Xin also got an answer. After shaking his head, Xin said no more. "My Buddha has mercy, you have become a demon." He clasped his hands together, closed his eyes slightly, and murmured softly. All of a sudden, the Buddha's light came out of his body, and with the help of the relics in his body, the light became even brighter. Bathed in the Buddha's light, a layer of golden color gradually appeared on his skin, and his figure began to grow. In just a few breaths of time, it has condensed into a huge golden body, like a solemn Buddha statue, causing the Buddha's voice to murmur. Then, Xin opened her eyes and was about to say something when she was suddenly startled. "Why is my golden body shorter than this demon monk's?" Looking upward, he blinked blankly. It shouldn't be like this. He clearly remembered it. Normally, when transformed into the golden body state, he should be almost as tall as Zhang Chen at this moment. What the hell is this sudden blow? When people look at him, their eyes are condescending. Isn't this the case that we are already at a disadvantage before the fight even starts? That's it, Zhang Chen's mocking voice sounded as expected. "I personally took action last time and captured the monk who made a scene in the Buddha temple. Now he is just in poor condition," Xin said bravely. "Monks don't lie, and he didn't lie either. Because it is indeed the case, and this is the only explanation that can explain this strange phenomenon." Hearing this, Zhang Chen's eyes lit up. Since it was Xin who personally captured Lin Feng and threw him into the sixth prison, then if he was captured without hesitation, wouldn't he also be able to enter the 6 prisons? "In your opinion, can my sins lead to the Buddha's 6 prisons?" Zhang Chen asked, just to be on the safe side. "The 6 hells of the Buddha cannot be entered unless the sinners are serious." Xin told the truth: "Although you, a monster monk, confuses others and is too violent, killing several people in our Buddha temple, you are still not qualified and must be saved on the spot." Tisk. Zhang Chen clicked his tongue. He was very dissatisfied with this answer. He just couldn't understand it. He is a villain, why is it so difficult for him to go to the 6th prison? Everyone wants to convert him where he is. Since he is not qualified, then he should be more qualified. Bald donkey, don't be so shameless. Zhang Chen's eyes turned cold and he directly showed his cards. "If you want me to go to the 6th hell of Buddha, I will gladly go. Otherwise?" "Otherwise?" Xin asked. "Otherwise, I will beat you bald donkeys until you spit out the relics today." Zhang Chen's voice sounded like an evil Buddha. "Arrogant!" Xin shouted, suddenly furious. He is the #1 Buddhist disciple in the Buddha temple, and he has never heard such arrogant words. In anger, the Buddha's light on his body became more and more dazzling, and his golden body also showed signs of becoming taller. Seeing this, Zhang Chen ran the Buddha Sutra with all his strength, and also shouted, "How dare you, a son, to be arrogant in front of your father? What do you want with such a big golden body? Give it to me." After hearing these words, the Buddhist disciples watching the battle all smiled disdainfully. "Isn't this funny? As young as you say? I really think I am Buddha. So young, a Buddhist disciple cried out in shock. The other Buddhist disciples also kept rubbing their eyes in disbelief. Just as Zhang Chen's voice fell, Cin's golden body condensed with Buddhist teachings actually shrank in size. Originally, Cin only needed to look upward when looking at Zhang Chen. But now, it's time to look up. Brother, how can you listen to this demonic monk? He asked you to be small, so you will be small. He is not Buddha, why should you cooperate with him? Brother, quickly return to normal, don't be funny. Brother, if you keep making trouble, I will take your place. If other fellow disciples see this, it will be disgraceful. Brother, you have not only lost your face, but also the face of the Buddha. After a brief moment of astonishment, the Buddhist disciples spoke one after another. Cin looked extremely ugly when he heard these words. When he was about to say something, he heard Zhang Chen say, "You are still wet behind the ears, what use do you have for this golden body? Disperse it." Bang! The Buddha light around Cin instantly dissipated like air. After the Buddha light disappeared, his golden body naturally could not last, and soon faded slowly. The other Buddhist disciples were confused again. I. After completely returning to normal, Cin himself couldn't believe it, and almost cried, "I can't control myself." At this moment, the Buddhist disciples finally noticed something strange. Recalling Zhang Chen's familiar Buddhist teachings, an incredible idea emerged in everyone's mind. Impossible, absolutely impossible, Cin was stunned and kept shaking his head. The other Buddhist disciples also shook their heads, trying to use this method to dispel the idea in their minds. But Zhang Chen did not intend to give them the opportunity to deceive themselves. Amitabha. He uttered the Buddhist sound, and the Buddha Sutra in his body was running at full power again. At the same time, the incense in the temples within a radius of dozens of miles turned into countless fragrant snakes, gathering and condensing into his body. Under the blessing of Buddhism and incense, Zhang Chen's golden color rose again, reaching more than 10 feet, and the three-color Buddha light on his head turned into 5 colors, and his eyes looked down on all living beings. This is Buddha Sutra. He practiced the temple stabilizing skills of my temple. At this moment, all the Buddhist disciples held their breath and shouted. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 146. Zhang Chen no longer intends to hide it. Although his skills are exposed, there is a possibility that he will be saved by the senior officials of the Buddha temple, but there is also a possibility that those bald donkeys want to ask about the origin of his skills and be thrown into the 6 hells of the Buddha for torture. He was not entirely sure how the senior officials of the Buddha temple would choose. But it doesn't matter. To put it bluntly, it's just the difference between shaking people and not shaking them. This is impossible, this is impossible. Cin and others are still confused. The scene before them was far beyond their understanding. How could the Buddha temple's temple holding technique be practiced by a demon monk from the upper realm? What's more, this demon monk is only at the Earth UN realm. To know. The moment they recognized Zhang Chen's technique, the Buddhist disciples even thought he was one of their own. I also considered whether to call Uncle Master. There is no way, in their understanding. Only the Buddha, the abbot of the temple, the 4 great Buddhist monks, and the 4 great ascetics practice the Buddha Sutra. If they were not Buddhists and knew the Buddhist temple very well, they would really feel like they had met one of their own. At this moment, all Buddhist disciples finally understood. No wonder Cin couldn't control herself, it turned out that she had met her father in Kung Fu. In front of his father, his son can only be honest and obedient. And because Zhang Chen's golden body attracted attention, the Buddha's light once again shone all around, which attracted many monks to come to worship. In just a few quarters of an hour, the number of people who paid homage to Zhang Chen already numbered in the thousands. Such a situation made Cin feel bad. Not only was the treasured scripture of the Buddha temple leaked, but it was also leaked in front of so many monks. If this matter spreads, other sects will definitely be ridiculed. Let's do it together. This monster monk can't stay, Cin said to his companions. The companions nodded in agreement, but they all froze in place, not knowing how to proceed. The Buddha meditation they practice is inherently restrained by the Buddha Sutra. Even if they all have the same Tianyuan cultivation level, if they can't operate their skills, how can they be enemies with Zhang Chen? We will abandon Buddhism and use boxing instead, Cin said again. There are many boxing secret books in the Buddha temple, which are the most powerful and the most yang. Although these boxing secrets still require the support of skills when used, more emphasis is placed on the vitality in the body. Fortunately, everyone is well versed in Buddhism, and although they are restrained in their exercises, they will not be deceived by Zhang Chen's Buddhism like other monks. And when the vitality of 6 Tianyuan monks are combined, the pressure can crush the Earth Yuan realm monk to death. After making up his mind, Cin took the lead. He slowed down the operation of the technique, gathered his own energy in his hands, and immediately jumped more than 10 feet, clenched his fist and punched Zhang Chen's golden head. The other Buddhist disciples saw this and acted similarly. Shua after jumping up, they made fists and struck at Zhang Chen's vital points. Zhang Chen didn't panic about this, but kept forming Buddha seals with his right hand, and murmured, "Mighty heavenly dragon, great law mantra, Prajna Buddhas, Prajna Bama Bang." Boom. Buddhism is like a mountain, pressing down from top to bottom. The 6 leaping Buddhas seemed to have hit a mountain with their bodies, and were immediately pushed down, creating several deep pits on the ground. "Humph, you're a very skilled person, but you dare to do the same thing." Zhang Chen's right-hand Buddha seal changed again and said, "I can see at a glance that you are not human beings, bah. It's a crosstalk. It should be that you are possessed by a demon. The flying dragon is in the sky." As the voice fell, the Buddha's light from the sky quickly solidified into a giant golden dragon with teeth and claws and a sinuous body. Roar. The golden dragon roared, deafeningly. "Go," Zhang Chen murmured softly, and the Buddha marks on his fingers continued to change. The golden dragon instantly understood its target, jumped down from the sky, and crashed into the 6 Buddhist disciples who had fallen to the ground. The 6 Buddhist disciples were shocked when they saw this and stood up quickly. They formed a line, and the latter put his hand on the former's back to form a Buddha formation, using the vitality of the 6 Tianyuan monks to form a shield, hoping to compete with the golden dragon. Bang! The golden dragon hit the aura shield, causing the surroundings to tremble. The powerful impact force was like shaking the world, and wherever it went, it was like a mantis blocking a car. With just a click sound, the extremely solid and radiant energy shield was smashed into pieces. Then the golden dragon went straight forward, knocked the 6 Buddhist disciples together, and raised the sky with its huge dragon head. Soon, the golden dragon disappeared, and the 6 Buddhist disciples fell from the sky. Their breath was disordered and their energy and blood flowed backwards. Puff. The Buddhist disciples covered their chests and spit out a mouthful of dirty blood. There is golden light shining in the dirty blood, it is the relics in their bodies. At this moment, the 6 Buddhist disciples felt even more shameful and humiliated. Their relics were really beaten up by Zhang Chen and spit out. And he spit out 6 pills at once. "You want to take away my Buddhist relics," Cin thought she had noticed Zhang Chen's purpose. "The dogs don't want anything you spit out." Zhang Chen curled his lips. Cin was speechless once again. At the same time, the lowest of the Buddha's 6 hells is the hell of desire. It was pitch black here, with occasional monks howling piteously, and the gloomy wind blowing like ghosts crying and wolves howling. Since entering here, Lin Feng and Old Man Tianji have been searching everywhere. Old Man Tianji has already seen that this is not a prison at all, but a legacy left behind by a high-level monk after his death. The 6 hells named by the Buddha temple as joy, anger, worry, fear, love, hate, and desire are nothing but the 6 parts of the body of the ancestor of the demon palace. This lowest level of desire hell tests the most basic desires of human beings, such as the desire for survival, lust, and appetite. Since entering this place, Lin Feng often feels hungry and tortured by hunger. Occasionally, there are beauties, but before he can appreciate them carefully, those beauties turn into skeletons, open and close their jaws, and come to bite him. Die. Lin Feng was still frightened when he split the skeleton in front of him with a knife. Just now, he was bewitched by a beautiful woman, and when the two were about to communicate further, they were awakened by the old man Tianji. After waking up, Lin Feng realized what he was holding was not a beautiful woman, but a skeleton that was about to bite him. If it weren't for the critical moment, the old man Tianji reminded him that he might still be addicted to the gentle land even if he was bitten to death. Sure enough, women are the most vicious. Lin Feng put away the black knife and patted his chest. You woke up much faster than I thought, old man Tianji praised. Lin Feng was helpless about this. If you lose something, you will gain something. The 7 purification annihilation technique he practiced was originally to cut off the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Thanks to Zhang Lianyu and others, he had an instinctive fear of women, especially beautiful women. That's why he was able to wake up quickly, and his cultivation level soared during this period, and he was already in the late stage of Reincarnation. Sure enough, I have been much smoother after leaving Juyan section. Lin Feng sighed again. Juyan sect has a big problem. Leaving is definitely a good thing, be careful. As he spoke, old man Tianji reminded again. This scared Lin Feng, and he turned his head and looked. He saw a demon monk with a crazy look, full of evil spirits, and his monk's clothes were tattered and could not cover his body, coming towards him with fangs and claws. This man is a sinner in the Buddha temple, and he was once a high monk, with Buddhist relics in his body. The old man Tianji was very excited. The relics can purify the ghost energy in his body, and he finally found it. How can I take out the relics? Lin Feng was also excited and asked. Beat him. Beat him to death. Beat him until he spits out the relics. Although he is in the Tianyuan realm, he has lost his mind because he has been trapped here for a long time. You can fight him. Okay. Buddhist relics are precious. Let alone if he spits them out, even if he pulls them out, I want them. That's right. Achoo. Suddenly, Lin Feng sneezed. For some reason, he always felt like he was scolded. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 147. Just when Zhang Chen despised others for spitting out the relic, Lin Feng said that such a precious treasure should not be spit out. Even if it is pulled out, it is necessary. On the other side, one of the 48 reception halls of the Buddha temple. With the help of Xiaoshan's elixir, Huixing, the elder of the reception hall, has basically recovered from his injuries. At this moment, he is in the Buddhist hall in the temple, chanting scriptures and reciting Buddha's name. After chanting, he opened his eyes and shook his head slightly. He felt that he was a little ridiculous. Wasn't he abused by a monk named Zhanghu and a big white tiger? The Buddhist sect emphasizes not being angry or angry. Because of this, he hated all tiger monsters and monks with tiger in their names, which was really inconsistent with his image as a monk. Amitabha, my Buddha is merciful, this should be my karma, Huixing realized. Such cause, such result. Now think about it, maybe he had a feud with tiger in his previous life. Being abused this time, it can be regarded as a cause and effect. Huixing smiled with satisfaction, proud of his understanding. Although there are many elders in the Buddha temple, there are not many monks like him who can see through the illusion and get a glimpse of cause and effect in a short time. Elder, there is another foreign monk coming, a little monk came to inform. Huixing nodded and got up from the cushion. He walked out of the Buddhist hall slowly, and saw the monk who had just entered the reception hall with a sad face and a gloomy face. Donor, your forehead is black, I am afraid there will be a blood disaster. Huixing was in a good mood and planned to save this person. Hearing this, the monk trembled immediately. He quickly stepped forward, grabbed Huixing's back, and said, "What the monk said is very true. I have not only had a blood disaster recently, but also a blood disaster almost every day. Does the monk have a solution?" Huixing said nothing, just pointed to the heart of the monk. "Master, what you mean is..." After a little thought, the monk's eyes lit up. "I want to be tough, fearless, brave, and forward, and never compromise." "No." Huixing shook his head and smiled. "What I mean is that you have to follow your heart, which is cowardly." Instantly, the monk was at a loss for words. "Donor, this is my experience." Huixing smiled faintly and said, "There are countless monks in the world. Some monks are born with strong physiques, and some monks are born with a good father. Instead of thinking about how to change fate, ordinary monks like me should follow their hearts. At least they can live happily." After studying this sentence carefully, the monk's eyes gradually lit up. Following your heart is not cowardly. Following your heart, you seek to live happily. He realized it. He thought he was cowardly enough, but in fact, he was extremely disgusted with cowardice, so he would struggle every day. If you accept your cowardice calmly, all the frustration will disappear. "Master, your words have opened my eyes. Please accept my greeting." The monk bowed deeply, quite grateful. "Haha, I am a monk, and I never care about these empty formalities." Huixing quickly helped the monk up. He smiled again, still with a smile on his face, but he spread his hands in front of the monk. Staring at the fat hand in front of him for a long time, the monk realized it again. So the meaning of this move is that monks don't care about empty formalities, but care about real formalities. "I was in a hurry this time, and I didn't bring any valuable items. I only have some poison pills to show my gratitude." The monk handed over a few poison pills of high grade, with a slightly embarrassed expression. Huixing's face also darkened. "Poison pills? Why does he, a monk, need poison pills?" Wait. There are actually 6th grade poison pills. Pills of this level, even if they are poison pills, are worth a lot if they are sold. Thank you, benefactor. I am also doing this to promote Buddhism. Huixing happily put away the pills. Adhering to the principle of giving back, he still reminded, "Donor, remember to follow your heart, otherwise you may be in danger." The monk nodded and kept this in mind. "By the way, I don't know your name, and why do you come to this Buddha temple?" Huixing asked again. "I am Xuanhuan, a true disciple of Juyan sect Zhifeng. This time I came to the Buddha temple to find Xiaoshan, the first true disciple of Dan Gyuda." The monk answered honestly. "Oh, it turns out to be Zhang. Zhang what?" Huixing was shocked. "Zhang who? What tiger? Zhang who?" After confirming that he had heard it correctly, Huixing's expression suddenly darkened. "Zhang who, here comes another Zhang who. And he claims to be from Juyan sect Zhifeng?" He understood instantly that the person in front of him might be. "Haha, I was wondering why you were so generous and gave me a 6th grade elixir. So that's it, you are Zhang Chen." Huixing thought he had seen through the truth. "What? I am Zhang Chen." Zhang Hu pointed at his nose and was stunned. Zhang Chen, you are really stupid. Your biggest mistake is that you said you are the true disciple of Juyan sect Zhifeng. And, you didn't bring a tiger monster with you, Huixing seemed to have a pearl of wisdom in his hand, and his expression was proud. What do you mean?" Zhanghu was even more confused. "The only person in Juyan sect who can easily take out a 6th grade elixir, apart from the top leaders, is you, the young master of the Zhang family. Since you pretended to be Zhanghu, you didn't even bring a tiger. Do you think I'm stupid? And, as far as I know, there is no one named Zhanghu among the true disciples of Juyan sect Zhufeng," Huixing analyzed carefully. Zhanghu was completely dumbfounded. The 6th grade poison pill was given by Xuanhuan. Worried about his low success rate of poisoning, Xuanhuan gave him most of the poison pills she had refined recently. As for bringing a tiger? Who said that if he was called Zhanghu, he had to bring a tiger? If so, wouldn't a cultivator named Zhang Long have to bring a dragon? As for his true identity, it was obvious that the Buddha temple had not kept up with the news. Or, was Xuanhuan too lazy to announce it? In any case, this was a far-fetched argument. Zhanghu was angry and felt that Huixing was deliberately making things difficult for him. But if he left, he would not be able to complete Xuanhuan's task. In order to survive, he would have to betray the sect and spend the rest of his life being hunted down. He didn't want to bear this kind of consequence. Because although Zhang Chen beat him and the crazy people bullied him, he always regarded Juyan sect as his home. "Master, calm down." Taking a deep breath, Zhanghu swore directly to the sky, "God, if I were Zhang Chen, I would live like a maggot in my life, and after death, my bones would be crushed and ashes would be scattered. I would be reincarnated as livestock, and countless reincarnations would not have a good death." Hiss. So cruel? Huixing took a breath of cold air. Cultivators don't swear randomly, especially this kind of oath witnessed by the heaven. Although the heaven is not idle and will pay attention to what oath a cultivator makes, if this oath is false, it is very likely to plant a demon in your heart, thus limiting your cultivation. "Are you really not Zhang Chen?" Huixing confirmed. No. Zhanghu's expression was firm, and he said in a loud voice, "Although Zhang Chen and I are my senior brother, we are on different paths of good and evil, and we have never dealt with each other." "Really?" Huixing asked again. "More true than the scriptures." After a short silence, Huixing suddenly laughed. He laughed arrogantly and asked loudly, "Since you are not Zhang Chen, why do you dare to call me Zhanghu? Do you think I am not worthy of your respect?" Zhanghu was confused. His name was given by his parents, how can it be related to Zhang Chen? "Zhanghu, Zhanghu, do you know where you are wrong?" Huixing smiled cruelly. "Gu." Swallowing hard, Zhanghu shook his head. "First, you should not be called Zhanghu, because I hate this name recently. Second, if you don't say that you don't get along with Zhang Chen, I really don't dare to do anything to you. After all, Zhang Chen is your senior brother. If I want to touch you, I will provoke the Zhang family. But now." Speaking of this, Huixing put his hands together and shouted, "Evil creature, give me your life." After that, he activated the Buddhist skills in his body, and immediately turned into a golden body, and beat Zhanghu. Zhanghu was defeated and his head was broken and bleeding in an instant. He thought that his bloody disaster would happen when he poisoned Xiaoshan, but he didn't expect it to happen now. "Bald donkey, you wait." After saying this, Zhanghu used all his strength to move his body and disappeared in a flash. "Top grade body." Huixing was stunned, and then sneered, "You run pretty fast. Buddha, please don't let me see you again." 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 148. At this time, Zhang Chen didn't know that Zhanghu was beaten again because of him. Even if he knew, he would probably only say how miserable, and then feel sorry for Zhanghu for 0.1 seconds. The 6 Buddhists were seriously injured. After seeing that Zhang Chen really had no intention of snatching the Buddhist relics, the Buddhists endured the pain and picked up the relics again. They first chanted scriptures and repented, and then swallowed them all. Seeing this, Zhang Chen looked disgusted. Buddhism is Buddhism, and it has a strong taste. Facing Zhang Chen's contempt, Cin and other Buddhists didn't care. They crossed their legs and chanted Buddhist scriptures, and used the relics to heal their wounds. Time passed quietly. Finally, the 6 Buddhists opened their eyes again. A flash of fighting spirit flashed in their eyes. Then, great and mighty dragon. Flying dragon in the sky, Zhang Chen jumped into the air and shouted loudly. The Dharma pressed down like a mountain again, and the golden dragon reappeared. The combination of the two made the relic that had just been swallowed vomit out again. The 6 Buddhist disciples were desperate. They couldn't beat him, they really couldn't beat him. Not only were their own dharma suppressed by Zhang Chen, but the latter also learned several top-grade secrets that only the upper 4 realms of cultivators could learn. How to fight this? Even if they were 1 realm ahead of Zhang Chen, they couldn't fight. In the end, the 6 Buddhist disciples gave up and chose to wait for death in despair. Unexpectedly, Zhang Chen showed no signs of continuing to attack. The Buddhist disciples looked at each other and prepared to run away. Although monks are not afraid of death, no one wants to wait for death when they can't beat him. Cin took the lead and used the remaining vitality to bless his legs, ready to run away. But he took just 1 step. Great and mighty dragon. Flying dragon in the sky, Zhang Chen's voice like an evil Buddha sounded again. The next second, Cin was pressed to the ground by the Buddhist Dharma, and then the golden dragon fell from the sky again. Puff. He spit out a mouthful of dirty blood again and fainted directly. Seeing this, the other Buddhist disciples shrank their necks and completely gave up the idea of escaping. Really unable to understand Zhang Chen's purpose, a Buddhist disciple asked softly, "What do you want to do?" The answer to him was, "Great and mighty heavenly dragon. Flying dragon in the sky." The scene was like a dead silence for a while. Looking at the 2 unconscious companions, the other Buddhist disciples dared not say anything more. Worried that Zhang Chen would be great and mighty heavenly dragon again if he disagreed with them, they even gave up the plan of healing, but just sat cross-legged in the same place, silently reciting scriptures in their hearts. As for why they recited silently, it was naturally because they did not dare to recite out loud. After all, the great and mighty heavenly dragon was really a little injured. Time continued to pass. Zhang Chen neither left nor let the 6 Buddhist disciples leave, and he did not even remove the golden body. He just threw a few high-grade pills to restore vitality into his mouth and waited quietly. As for what he was waiting for? At first, the Buddhist disciples didn't understand. But after a little thought, they all understood. This place is the Buddha temple, and they are the Buddhist disciples of the Buddha temple. In front of everyone, Zhang Chen killed people, destroyed the temple, and beat 2 of the 6 Buddhist disciples to half paralysis. There is no doubt that the top leaders of the Buddha temple will never sit idly by. They will definitely come to help. You are simply ignorant of life and death. When the strong men of our temple come, you will be liberated on the spot in a blink of an eye. A certain Buddhist disciple was disdainful in his heart, glanced at Zhang Chen, and then retracted his gaze. Great and powerful Tianlong, Zhang Chen suddenly attacked. Paralyzed Buddhist Ad 1. Before fainting, the Buddhist disciple was puzzled and struggled to ask, "Why did you do this?" "The look you gave me just now was wrong," Zhang Chen replied in seconds. After these words came out, after a short silence, the other Buddhist disciples closed their eyes tightly and dared not open them again. At this time, the crowd of onlookers was getting bigger and bigger. Seeing that the 6 Buddhist disciples of the Buddha temple were beaten like this by Zhang Chen, the people who had been brainwashed were even more impressed. They gathered in all directions and kept worshipping Zhang Chen's golden color, Their eyes were already fanatical. Suddenly, "You, the monk, look familiar," a deep and low voice sounded. Jiang Chen looked in the direction of the voice and his eyelids jumped. The monk who spoke was Mu Kuei. At this time, Mu Kuei was holding a seemingly crazy preaching monk in his hand, and his eyes kept looking at the golden color condensed by Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen understood instantly. It must be that Mu Kuei drove another preaching monk crazy, and when he went out to pursue the preaching monk, he happened to come here. After quickly winking at his younger brothers Lu Wen, Lu Wu, and Xiao Bai to hide, Jiang Chen said to Mu Kuei, "All living beings have thousands of faces, but Buddha has only one face. The donor feels familiar with me because I have Buddha in my heart. So that's it?" After thinking carefully, Mu Kuei suddenly realized. But he did not leave, but glanced at the mad preaching monk in his hand, and then glanced at Jiang Chen. He repeated this for more than 10 times, always looking like he wanted to say something but stopped. Jiang Chen's mouth twitched, and he used Buddhist sounds to disguise his voice and said, "Fart if you have any." The monk's words are indeed unconventional and different from others. Hearing this, Mu Kuei was not angry, but praised. Unlike those other preaching monks, their words are not only obscure and difficult to understand, but also often say Buddha's words, which is really boring. Jiang Chen was speechless. Feeling that talking to Mu Kuei was too tiring, he simply stopped talking. "I hope the monk will save me and give me a Dharma name," Mu Kuei said with his hands clasped together. "Save you?" Jiang Chen simply rolled his eyes. "Let me ask you. Who can convert a reincarnated emperor? And a person who has been wiped out of all wisdom except martial arts? If Mu Kuei can really convert, then the moment he arrives here, he will be converted by his Buddha's light, and worship him like other monks and cultivators." However, Jiang Chen also understands Mu Kuei's thoughts. He probably wants to pass the sutra recitation and chanting, and then complete the sect's tasks to make himself look at him with new eyes. In the 9 reincarnations, Mu Kuei has been traveling outside and rarely returns to the sect. Although he was also affected by Lin Feng's protagonist halo before his own martial emperor memory awakened, he did not blame Jiang Chen and hate him like Zhang Lianyu and others. After all, this is a martial emperor who reincarnated to defy the heavens. He is completely focused on cultivation and is immersed in it. It is difficult to be influenced by the outside world. To be fair, Jiang Chen does not hate Mu Kuei either. Although the starting point is different, Mu Kuei is indeed another person who is always defying the heavens in the 9 reincarnations. "I see that you have opened 6 of the 7 orifices. You are a talent. You are fearless in your heart and have no eyes for the sky, so I will give you the Dharma name Wushan. I hope that one day you can really." At this point, Jiang Chen stopped talking. He looked up at the sky, and then said in his heart, "I can really go against the sky." Hearing this, Mu Kuei felt that the monk in front of him was scolding him. He is indeed dull, but not stupid. 7 orifices opened 6 orifices. Doesn't this clearly say that he knows nothing? But when he heard the Dharma name Wushan, Mu Kuei felt the crazy surge of blood in his body. He also looked up at the sky and asked, "Does the monk also look at the sky and dislike it?" To be honest, I always have the urge to tear him apart with my own hands. I used to be. Jiang Chen retracted his gaze. Once. Mu Kuei was puzzled. Although he was puzzled, with his IQ, he never entangled in anything he didn't understand. This time he got the Dharma name, which can be regarded as passing the chanting of sutras and chanting Buddha. Although the monk in front of him was hostile to the Buddha temple did not have any rules that monks from outside could not be considered qualified if they were given a Dharma name. Mu Kuei smiled with satisfaction, thinking that he was very smart. Next, he could complete the sect's mission, and then use practical actions to prove to his senior brother that he was not stupid. Thinking of Jiang Chen, Mu Kuei frowned. In the past, even if he was dull, he would feel bad when he thought of Jiang Chen. but recently, I don't know why, the bad feeling still exists, but it seems a bit inconsistent and weird. Could it be related to those forgotten dreams? Mukwei thought secretly. He couldn't figure it out, so he simply gave up and turned around and left. And he had just left. The sky suddenly changed. The sound of Buddha was deafening, and the seven-color Buddha light was diffused in the sky. A thin monk wearing a cassock and holding a rosary, using the Buddha light as a bridge, came from a distance and finally stood in the sky. What a strong evil spirit, the monk narrowed his eyes, looked at Zhang Chen and said, "Evil monk. Where did you learn the precious scriptures of our temple? If you tell the truth, I will save you right here. Otherwise, you will be sent to the 6 prisons of Buddha, and you will never be reincarnated again after death." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 149. While speaking, the thin monk glanced at the monks and monks who were still worshipping below. He waved his rosary beads and shouted softly, "Wake up." These 2 simple words attracted the Buddha's light even more. The 7-color Buddha's light filled the air for hundreds of miles. Not only was the 5-color Buddha's light shined by Zhang Chen instantly covered up, but the 6-character seal that was still spinning turned into golden light and shattered in an instant. After hearing the sound, the monks and monks who were kneeling in worship suddenly woke up and were dripping with cold sweat. He raised his head and took a look at the thin monk. Zhang Chen's expression was calm. He recognized this thin monk. In his 9th reincarnation, every time he tried to enter the 6 hells of Buddha to snatch and destroy Lin Feng's opportunity, this old man appeared. This made Zhang Chen feel happy. If other Buddha monks arrived, he would also need to consider the risk of being captured and saved on the spot. But now, this is no longer necessary. Because the monk in front of me has a cultivation level in the upper 4 realms of creation. He is one of the 4 great Buddhist monks in the Buddha temple. His Dharma name is Universal Precepts, and he specializes in the 6 hells of the Buddha. If it falls into the hands of this person, there is only one way to enter the 6 hells of Buddha. The point is, he doesn't know himself yet. Zhang Chen considered whether his own cultivation skills would be abolished if his skills were exposed, even if he could enter the Buddha temple. In the end, he came to the conclusion that no. The reason is simple. In the eyes of Buddhist monks, the 6 hells of Buddha are for the salvation of monks who have committed serious sins. In order to achieve the goal of making evil people gradually despair in their struggle, the Buddha temple will not abolish anyone's cultivation skills. Again, if Zhang Chen dies in the 6th Buddha prison, then the Buddha temple will never know why the temple protecting scriptures were leaked. Therefore, the Buddha temple will only throw him into 6 hells for torture. Monk, do you want to commit suicide, or do you want to remove your golden body and follow me to the 6 hells of Buddha? Have you experienced all kinds of sufferings in the world and are you unable to live or die? Puja asked again. Is this still a choice? Zhang Chen immediately removed the gold, restored it to its original state, clasped his hands and said, Amitabha, of course he will go to the 6 hells of the Buddha. After all, if I don't go to hell, who will go to hell? Hearing this, Puja was stunned. Normally, those evil monks look horrified when they mention the 6 hells of Buddha, but the evil monk in front of him actually wants to go to jail? That's all, what he said was quite zen-like. Are you sure? Those who enter the 6th prison will be jailed once every 100 years. If you enter, it will take at least 100 years for you to see the light of day again next time. This is still based on the fact that you are still alive and not crazy. Puja narrowed his eyes. After thinking for a while, he added, after entering the 6th prison, you will regret why you did not choose to be saved by me. Zhang Chen didn't reply, he just smiled, looking like he was at ease. Humph, in that case, I'll give you a ride. The general precepts are not ambiguous, just do it directly. But just when he was about to use Buddha's light to imprison Zhang Chen, he noticed a murderous intention. Looking forward, he looked at the figure in red who was disappearing and appearing, and said, Xiao Hong Ai, Lin Feng made a big fuss in the Buddha temple, injuring and maiming many preaching monks in the Buddha temple. I will kill this monster monk first. If you want to save Lin Feng from being thrown into the 6 prisons of the Buddha, come to the Buddha's temple. Lin Feng? This name struck my ears, and Xiao Hong Ai's killing intent became a little more awe-inspiring. She didn't care about Lin Feng's life or death at all. It's just that despite Zhang Chen's repeated warnings, she still couldn't restrain her murderous intention when she saw that Zhang Chen was about to be captured. It is reasonable to avoid misunderstandings. After all, in this person's opinion, Xiao Hong Ai's purpose of coming here could only be to save Juyan sect disciple Lin Feng. After all, there were rumors some time ago that Xiao Hong Ai had accepted Lin Feng as his disciple. Snort. After snorting coldly, Xiao Hong Ai disappeared. This made Pug breathe a sigh of relief. He noticed the change in Xiao Hong Ai's aura, and his cultivation was definitely above him. If it really comes to a fight, he will definitely not be his opponent. Let me go. Looking at Zhang Chen, Puja spoke again. But when he wants to take action again. Boom. The sky shook and the wind surged. A pressure as majestic as the power of heaven suddenly came from 100 miles away. It almost knocked Puja down from the air. Supernatural power realm, looking hundreds of miles away, Pug cried out in surprise. Zhang Chen instantly understood that this must be the action of his protector Chen Sheng. With Chen Sheng's temper, if Puja dared to touch him today, he might directly demolish the Buddhist temple. Helpless, he had no choice but to say in the distance, "Don't worry, I know what's going on." As the voice fell, the lingering power of heaven finally slowly faded away. Seeing that Pug looked like he was facing a formidable enemy, Zhang Chen said directly, "I think you should give up on capturing me, and I will go with you on my own." Puja didn't reply, just swallowed his saliva. That magical power realm aura really scared him to death. Although there is no shortage of powerful people in the magical realm in the Buddha temple, the battle between monks of this level can destroy most of the Buddha temple in just the aftermath. At this moment, Puja became more and more convinced that the demon monk named Zhang Hu in front of him definitely came from the upper realm. Otherwise, there would not be such a strong guardian. Puja felt a little weak. But the leakage of the treasured scriptures that govern the temple is a serious matter. Even if someone comes from the upper realm, the Buddha temple must touch it. This has nothing to do with face, but touches the foundation of the sect. If you are willing to tell the origin of the treasure sutra and let me abolish your cultivation technique, this matter can be dropped, Puja said with a solemn expression. In response, Zhang Chen shook his head and said, "I'll give you 2 choices, send me to the Buddha's 6 hells, or I'll break in by myself." Puja was speechless, looking at Zhang Chen as if he was looking at a fool. He had never seen anyone rushing to jail like this. At this point, there was no room for negotiation. The Buddha's 6 hells are a little far from here. I will wrap you up with Buddha's light and let you cross the sky. Do you understand? Puja said. Although this sentence was said to Zhang Chen, it was actually said to Chen Sheng. What Puja wanted to express was very simple. I don't intend to do anything to you, so don't let the protectors mess around. To put it bluntly, it's just a bit cowardly. Understanding this, Zhang Chen nodded. If you change your mind, you can call me and I will take you out, Puja said again. Zhang Chen nodded again. You want to go to the Buddha's 6 hells yourself. I didn't force you, Puja also said. Zhang Chen wanted to curse. Sure enough, even the high monks of the Buddha temple, when they get scared, are just like ordinary people. In the end, Zhang Chen was carried away by Puja's Buddha light and floated towards the direction of the Buddha temple. Seeing such a demon monk being taken away, the Buddhist disciples were amnesty, and the monks who had gathered gradually dispersed. A moment later, only a burly figure was left around the ruined temple that was originally crowded. This person was Mu Kuei, who had left but inexplicably returned. When Mu Kuei returned, Zhang Chen had just taken off his golden body and returned to his original appearance. Big Brother became a monk. He was stunned for half an hour before he shouted in surprise. This is unreasonable. That's Zhang Chen. How can the notorious young master of the Zhang family become a monk just like that? The point is, becoming a monk is fine, but this is treason. Mu Kuei was angry. He didn't understand any great principles, but he also knew the basic bottom line of being a human being. Zhang Chen ridiculed him, bullied Lin Mubai, peeped at Zhang Lianyu, and even lied to Qingning. He could ignore it. Only betrayal is intolerable. At this moment, a strong disgust emerged in his heart, and his eyes were filled with blood under his thick eyebrows that were almost connected. Soon, his breath became violent, and blood seemed to come out of his pores on his skin. Just as he was about to fall into a state of madness, he felt a sharp pain in his sea of consciousness, as if invaded by a foreign object. Ah! The pain was unbearable. Mu Kuei covered his head with both hands and screamed to the sky. Fortunately, the pain that was like tearing the soul did not last too long. After a few screams, Mu Kuei's eyes were dull again, and he was stunned. His consciousness fell into darkness. When the light dispelled the darkness, he found himself standing above Julian sect, and the three golden characters first life on the sky were particularly conspicuous. At the same time, at the bottom of the second peak of Julian sect, he sat up in shock from his dying illness. Patriarch Julian woke up from his suspended state and said in disbelief, "No way. Again. My lifespan is not enough. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil." Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 150. Although he realized that he was about to fall into 9 generations of retrospection, the ancestor of Julian still did not want to believe it. "That's impossible, I must be dreaming. It doesn't make sense. I'm so stable, why would I want to watch the 9th life retrospective? Furthermore, Mu Kuei is the reincarnation of Emperor Wu. If he falls into 9 generations of retrospection, he will touch the seal that Emperor Wu originally used to fight against the law of heaven. The seal was originally left to defy heaven. Its purpose is not to let Mu Kuei be affected by any external force. If external interference is detected, Emperor Wu's memory will be unsealed on its own, causing Mu Kuei to fall into a state of desperate madness. If this fails to stop the invasion of external forces, then Mu Kuei will explode directly. That Emperor Wu is a lunatic and doesn't want to be controlled by anyone. He won't compromise even if he commits suicide. This power in the dark wants to kill Mu Kuei. You want to kill me too? He babbled and whispered. As the last words fell, his vision began to distort and became illusory. At the same time, he could also notice that all of his few lifespans were being deducted at this moment. That's fine. Ancestor Julian smiled bitterly. This time, his lifespan is no longer long enough to see another 9 life retrospective. And before he completely fell into retrospection, he should have passed away. The person who is about to die is just delaying. Although he died earlier in this life, he did many things that he would not dare to do in this life, and he also understood the truth of this world, so it was not a loss. The only regret. I can't see anyone getting married in red anymore. Ancestor Julian closed his eyes. As soon as the voice fell, his heart stopped suddenly, and his vitality completely disappeared. He was like a corpse, without any vitality anymore. And at the moment he fell. Dong! 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 The bell on the second peak rings 9 times, and the sound of the bell is melodious and resounds throughout the world. The sound of the bells rises and falls, rippling away like a mournful sound. After hearing the sound, the entire Julian sect disciples panicked. They didn't know what happened, but they knew that the red bell at the second peak was special and would not ring unless it was a serious situation. And Julian sect has been a sect for thousands of years. Even if there is a war between sects, the earthen bell has never sounded 9 times. At this moment, a question appeared in the minds of all the disciples of Julian sect. Is the sky going to fall? The sky is indeed falling, but the sky is falling for the Julian sect. The bottom of the second peak. 12 supreme elders and all the peak masters gathered together. The great elder Xuanhuan, holding the jade coffin of the Julian ancestor, cried bitterly, "Ancestor, ancestor, you can't go. The Julian sect cannot live without the ancestor, and my Xiao family cannot live without you." The cry was pitiful, and my face was moved when I heard it. The leader, Gu Changqing, stepped forward and helped Xuanhuan, who was almost fainting from crying, and said, "Great elder, let the ancestor go. When the ancestor was alive, we could not share his worries, at least after his death. Ugh! Ancestor, why did you leave?" As he talked, Gu Changqing started crying. "At least after his death, we should let our ancestors have some peace," another supreme elder answered. Hearing this, everyone started wiping tears. If the ancestor had not broken out of the coffin to save us and the Julian sect, his lifespan would never have faded so quickly. Xuanhuan continued to cry. As soon as these words came out, everyone burst into tears at the same time. It's them who are incompetent. They are unfilial. If they had reused some more, the ancestor would not have fallen so quickly. Now the Julian sect was invaded by the devil, and the demon seed was planted, and the Julian ancestor fell. From now on, life will be difficult for Julian sect. Everyone cried for a long time, all of them were hoarse. After his emotions calmed down slightly, Xuanhuan said, "The death of our ancestor must not be leaked to anyone. Otherwise, the sect will be in great trouble." "Okay, how about closing the sect for 100 years, asked a supreme elder. "No," Xuanhuan refused, "we can't keep a low profile. The more low-key we are, the more attention we will attract from other sections. Not only that, we have to be more high-profile than usual to confuse the eyes. Otherwise, the Julian sect will be in great trouble." "How to be high-profile?" another supreme elder asked. "Yes, how to be high-profile is indeed a problem. If you are too high-profile, you may get into trouble. It's not good to be high-profile for no reason. It's easy for other sects to notice something fishy. So the best way is to be high-profile for a reason without going too far. Only in this way can we blind the sight of other sects in a short period of time, allowing these sects to make up their own minds and do things timidly." "Is there any news about Hongyi and Zhangchen?" Xuanhuan asked. "Yes," a supreme elder replied, "I used the suppressing heaven realm to monitor the situation of the two of them. Just now, Zhangchen was captured into the 6th prison of Buddha. The strange thing is that Hongyi did not prevent. This is not weird. Hongyi is crazy and cannot follow common sense when doing things." Xuanhuan shook his head. "Nothing should happen to Zhangchen, otherwise the Julian sect will become a demon sect without waiting for foreign enemies to invade. The death of Julian ancestor must also be covered up. In this case, there is only one way." After taking a deep breath, Xuanhuan said seriously, "Ring the bell 8 times. 8 sounds." Everyone was stunned. The disciples of Julian sect don't know the meaning of the bell's 9 tones, but the 8 tones are very clear. Because the bell rings 8 times, it means that the sect war is about to begin. Is this too high profile? And who is the target of the sect war? A supreme elder hesitated. The target is naturally the Buddha temple. This is not to really start a war between the sects, but to use this reason to go to rescue Zhangchen. Show the attitude of our Julian sect. The ancestor fell and Zhang Chen was arrested. Only in this way can we to conceal the truth, solve the two things together, Xiao Shan explained in detail. Seeing everyone's expression solemn, he added, of course, we can't use the banner of rescuing Zhang Chen. After all, Zhang Chen's reputation is far and wide, and this banner is untenable. But don't forget, in the 6 prisons of the Buddha, there's also Lin Feng. Lin Feng? This name struck my ears, and the eyes of all the supreme elders lit up. Recently, they have been paying attention to the devil's seed, but they have forgotten this destined child. Lin Feng's luck test that day revealed that the golden pillar of luck was hundreds of feet tall. This matter could not be hidden and had already been known to many sects. The fate of the destined son is linked to the sect. If the reason is to save Lin Feng, it is natural and reasonable to start a war against the Buddha temple. The great elder is wise. I can't wait, everyone saluted Xiao Shan at the same time. Xiao Shan waved his hand, indicating that this was just a basic exercise. To be honest, he was able to have such inspiration because of the blessings of the elders and disciples of Zhi Feng. After all, it was in this way that the great elder Liu Yang led the 9 Peaks disciples to start an internal fight within the sect. It's not too late, we need to act quickly, Xiao Shan said again. Okay, Gu Changqing responded, and then said worriedly, I'm afraid that the situation will be uncontrollable and out of control, and the ancestor will fall, and we may not be the opponent of the Buddha temple. Don't worry, Xiao Shan reassured, our ancestor is so powerful in the central region. Those bald donkeys in the Buddha temple are not stupid. They will not dare to fight to the death with our Juyan sect at this time. At this time, Gu Changqing was confused. 30 years later, there will be a sect competition. Now all the sects are accumulating information and want to win the only place to go to the upper domain, another supreme elder explained. I see. Gu Changqing suddenly realized. After everyone discussed the details for a while, they left one after another crying. No one noticed. In the empty jade coffin, the body of the Juyan ancestor suddenly decayed rapidly, turning into dust and dissipating in an instant. In the jade coffin that should have been empty, there was one missing body, but there was one more solid soul. The face and figure of this spirit are exactly the same as those of the Juyan ancestor, and his eyes are slightly closed, as if he is sleeping.